What is going on, everybody? It's Christian here again to bring you some more Dynasty football talk. And last time we spoke, it was about some buy lows, sell highs going into the off season. And so I update my rankings weekly basis. I like to do it on Tuesdays, but because of the bonus football that we got this week, today's coming out just little later than normal. So Wednesday, no, not too late, not too late. But just wanted to, bring some names up that I felt rose or fell over this past crazy week in the NFL. COVID is striking. A lot of big injuries. That are going to affect a lot of playoffs, affected a lot of playoffs. A lot of you guys are going to join me right here on the couch just watching football because your fantasy seasons are over. So we're going to dive right into it. But first, you can find my rankings on my Twitter at ccrest_26. All my rankings will be found there. If you guys want to comment on them, please feel free to. My DMs are also open. You want to go back and forth. You want to argue with me about it. You want to agree with me. You just want to talk. Go ahead and slide right in. But we're going to go ahead and start at the quarterback position. And we're going to start with somebody that it pains me to say it because he's clearly in a lot of pain, and that is Mr. Rain Dakota Prescott. Dak Prescott just doesn't look right. And it kind of goes back to when he strained his calf against the Patriots on the last play of the game. Yeah, about that. But he just doesn't look comfortable. Shuffle of the offensive line, Zeke not running the ball the same way. It's just seems like it's throwing him off, and he's affected a lot of fantasy teams this year, and it doesn't really dip in my rankings. He just falls into the tier right below. No longer with the Josh Allens, the Kyler Murrays, the Lamar Jackson. He shares a tier now with Joe Burrow, just above Joe Burrow, because of that rushing ability when he's not hurt. But yeah, Dak just slight fall. Hopefully he picks it back up. Next, finally, Urban Meyer is gone. Finally. And that, Trevor Lawrence didn't have a great game against Houston, which, shocking. But, I mean, it's just 1 week, right? We got to give him some time to now really let himself open up a little bit more in that offense. So he gets a slight boost for me as well. Not too high, but just something to look forward to. Russell Wilson does dip, and he just doesn't look right. It could go back to the same thing about Dak with his finger. He's just missing a lot of DK Metcalf downfield, and that definitely doesn't help either. But no offensive line, run game, just Rashard Penny looks great, and it's great for 5 plays, and then we look for Rashard Penny, and if you can't see him, just look towards the medical tent because he's sure to be in there. But Russ, we got to give him time, I guess, but we don't really have time anymore. And somebody that slipped right into the bottom of my list was Davis Mills. We don't know what's going on in Houston, but all indications are Deshaun Watson is gone. He's not coming back. And, there is no clear-cut quarterback coming out of this draft that can step right in and take over a team. And Davis Mills has shown some stuff this season. He's not afraid to throw the ball, and that's something that could give some superflex value to him. So someone to look at, going into next season. Who knows? Maybe he can fit that superflex role for somebody, just looking to build some quarterback depth. Bye week fill in. You never know what could come from it. So running backs. Biggest riser would probably be Sony Michel. Coming out of nowhere. The man looks absolutely fantastic. Last night's game, he looked so fresh. It's crazy. He just looks so different than what he did when he was with New England. And he's going to be a free agent. And there are a couple teams that could use a running back like him that he could come in and be a featured role, if not featured, a 65% split in the backfield with somebody else. But he should get bulk of carries. And a team like the Dolphins need a running back. Yeah, Duke Johnson, woo! Yeah, Duke Johnson. Where was he before this week? At home. But Sony Michel does get a boost. And It's interesting, and I would be interested in seeing what it could possibly cost to acquire him going into next season. Um, the Jacksonville running back situation, James Robinson, to me, big boost. And the reason for that is because Urban Meyer came in and drafted Travis Etienne. So that is, that's somebody that he brought in, he wanted to incorporate. He got hurt, couldn't really do it. So new coaching staff, James Robinson, undrafted, no draft capital, and we were all wondering what was going to happen. And Darrell Bevell came out first week, said James Robinson is our workhorse back. We're going to use him as such. And you saw it this week. I mean, he looks great. There's no denying the talent that James Robinson has. For me, Urban Meyer gone boosts his value. New coaching staff is going to come in next year. They're going to look at what James Robinson has done these past 2 seasons and see he is a capable running back. Travis Etienne hasn't played a snap. No denying Travis Etienne's talent, because what we saw in Clemson was great. And he does have the rapport with Trevor Lawrence, so that could also affect. But because we haven't seen that, Etienne just get a slight dip in my rankings, and James Robinson gets a boost. And man, Craig Reynolds. What? Come on, Craig. I mean, the Detroit Lions. What's going on there? Obviously, you have DeAndre Swift. He's not taking away carries from DeAndre Swift, but Jamal Williams, Craig Reynolds can step right in and take that role. I mean, pass catching ability. He runs in between the tackles really well. He has a good burst. I mean, who knows what can come from it? Doesn't really climb the rankings, but he sneaks right in, kind of like Davis Mills. Somebody I threw in there because he's showing that he has a skill set to be a capable backup running back in the NFL, and that has value, especially with the running back depth the way it is. It just doesn't. I mean, there's just not much to it. So why not take a flyer on someone like Craig Reynolds? That's somebody you pick up off the waiver wire. You just throw them in there and see what they got, and if you're not contending and you can still make moves to prepare yourself for next season, Craig Reynolds, scoop him up, easy. Wide receiver position, jumping same direction to Craig Reynolds with the Detroit Lions and Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's clearly the number one on that team right now, and going into next season, he's not going to be the number one. Whether Detroit drafts one of the great wide receivers coming out of this class, or they make a play for Chris Godwin, who we'll get into later, or a Michael Gallup, or an Allen Robinson, which I doubt, but you never know. Amon-Ra could be a solid number 2 receiver for that team. I mean, he'll be third, maybe fourth in options, behind whatever wide receiver they bring in. Obviously, DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson are still going to be there, but someone to keep your eye on. I'll go straight into Chris Godwin now. We saw that, and that is terrible. Chris Godwin is such a talented player, and it really does suck to see, a great talent like that just go down. But value-wise, I saw a lot of people comment on it, and obviously it takes a slight dip. An ACL injury takes 8 months. He tore it now at the end of this season, so he's going to miss a lot of training camp with a new team. If he does sign with a new team, who knows where he's going to go. That's why it's not too big of a dip for me personally, but it's something to keep your eye on. We could see guys like Tyler Johnson now really step up. Antonio Brown's going to come in and cook up his stuff, but he doesn't really have any dynasty value going forward. But Chris Godwin, that's someone that did take a hit. Just have to mention it. Another big hit in my rankings, and it hurt to say just because it's the end of an era to me, and that's Julio Jones. Julio Jones just can't stay on the field anymore, and I do believe that we just saw his last snap this season, and who knows what's going to happen next year. Obviously, Tennessee is lacking weapons now. We see it now. Ryan Tannehill is struggling. No Derrick Henry, AJ Brown's not there. No tight end to speak of. It's such a crapshoot over there, but it's kind of tough to see where Julio Jones will be next year, not necessarily team-wise, but just health-wise. He does keep getting these nagging injuries, and, for the most part, I'm pretty sure they're all lower body, lower half. And it's these soft tissue injuries that just keep creeping up and creeping up. You just can't trust it anymore. And there are just so many other guys like the next guy I'm going to talk about that I would much rather have, and that's Gabriel Davis. And finally, we are seeing what Gabriel Davis is capable of. This offseason, the Bills went out and signed Emmanuel Sanders. Bye-bye. You don't need him. You really don't. Gabriel Davis has shown that he has that number 2 wide receiver ability to go opposite Stephon Diggs, to play really well with Cole Beasley, who takes over the slot. Now Dawson Knox becoming a big part of that offense. And, they do have Josh Allen at quarterback. Big arm. Gabriel Davis makes big plays. Boom, boom. Match made in heaven. It's just something that Gabriel Davis is climbing up not only my rankings, but everyone's rankings. He is just somebody that you really should go out and get right now before he clearly gets that number 2 role when they don't bring anybody else in. He's going to be, to me, he's going to be a solid wide receiver 3 for any Dynasty team with so much upside each week just because of the offense that he plays in. And going lastly into tight ends, Mark Andrews, what is up? Come on. I mean, it's just incredible at this point. Without Lamar Jackson, too. 26 years old, tight end 1 in Dynasty. Overtook that spot. Easy. It's not even a question anymore. And with that, Pitts fallen. He is going into the pits. I mean, still top tier tight end, obviously because of age, ability, skill set, talent, all that stuff that we saw at Florida. It's tough because young tight ends don't normally have success so early in their careers. And he's just falling into that same kind of situation now with Atlanta. It's not a great offense. Cordell Patterson, he had his stuff. Mike Davis. Russell Gage, another person that made he made the appearance in my rankings this week, probably a week late, but he's there, and he's another guy to look at. But Kyle Pitts is now my tight end 4 in Dynasty. That's behind obviously Mark Andrews, and at number 2 is George Kittle, because George Kittle has just much more to him all around than my number 3, and that's obviously Travis Kelce. And I'm bringing up Travis Kelce last because, not because he doesn't have the skills anymore, but other than overtime and the second half of the fourth quarter, he really didn't have anything going on in that game. I watched those highlights a lot just because it was the first game of a very long week, but it was such a great game towards the end. It's the matchup there is just incredible. It's going to be fun to watch for a while. But Travis Kelce kind of had that Jason Witten kind of feel to him for the most part of that game, where catch and drop. Catch, look around, and maybe get a couple more yards, and that's about it. But he didn't really have that, that burst that we are used to seeing out of Travis Kelce. And late in the game, the Chargers defense was just beat up, and it really, without Derwin James, that secondary, especially in the middle of the field, there's no way to stop somebody with Kelce's ability. He still can show it, and he has shown it. He's no longer the tight end 1 in fantasy this year, but he's still a very good option in that offense, and it's because of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is going to make him. And but other than like I said, overtime, it just wasn't there. I didn't really see him, really pushing for the more yards. And even on that last play that won the game, it was more of the safeties just being really aggressive, trying to get after him, and he was just able to make a move around them and show off that speed downfield. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys again for coming back and watching these videos. We're gonna keep pumping out this content. now working with Triple Play Fantasy, and I'm really excited to do that. And not only going to be football, but baseball. Baseball's coming up, basketball's going on. We cover it all. So be sure to stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends, share it with your family, grandmother, grandfather. Hey, something to watch during Christmas dinner. But happy holidays to everybody. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, a great Happy New Year's, and I will see you next time on my next updated rankings. Thanks, guys.